Good afternoon, Muttonistas. Welcome to another vlog and another slightly different vlog. I'm on my way to Paris for the Manchester City game at PSG, and I left my bookings a little too late, so I've been hooted for expensive fares. So I thought, why not go the whole hog and go with Eurostar Premier both ways? Costing me an arm and a leg, so let's find out whether it's really worth it. So behind me, Muttonistas, the magnificent building that is St Pancras Station. Now, before the European trains started coming here, it was a bit of a filthy, or had a filthy facade. Of course, it was spruced up. Back in those days, it only served the main line from Bedford to Derby to Sheffield and maybe on to Leeds. But now, obviously, it's become more important. A bit of a gripe though, you can go here to a lot of places on the continent and most of France, but you can't go from most of the continent to anywhere other than London. I think it's a bit short-sighted, and in decades to come I think that will probably be realised, and the short-termism will be looked at very unfavourably, and they'll end up doing something more expensive to fix it. Anyway, let's head off to the check-in area, and I believe we get a specially fast queue as a Premier ticket holder. But before that, given I've got a few minutes till I'm actually allowed to go through, let's check out the pint of Guinness in the station if I can find it. Okay, so in the Betjeman Arms Muttonistas, and it wasn't the greatest pour ever. The poor barmaid tried to pour a shamrock and it overflowed a bit. Still, it doesn't look too bad, and I'm sure it wouldn't taste too different. Pretty busy pub actually, though a whole mixture of drinks being served, not that much Guinness. Okay, Muttonistas, only time for one here, so the first sip or slurp had to be reserved for my Instagram reel, but I'll have another one again for you. And it's decent. I can't call it a creamer, but it's quite nice. I'd happily go here again. Anyway, I've been keeping a watch on my belongings like a hawk here. Glad I'm in a quiet room, because I call this station St Pickpocket International. It is crawling with thieves and pickpockets, and thankfully here and at other parts on the London Underground, I've seen an increased security presence, for which I am grateful. Anyway, time to net this and head off to security. Oh, and before I go, the price was £7.45. Not exactly a bargain, but not too dissimilar to other London station pints. So, Muttonistas, for those of you not familiar with the layout of St Pancras or St Pickpocket, upstairs domestic departures, downstairs international. Now, on the way out, you have to go through a security check, which you do on the way in, and you go through immigration and French customs here at the station. There's also a security check, but not as obtrusive a check as you'd get at airports. And on the way back, of course, there's still a security check, but I believe UK customs are done when you arrive here at St Pancras. Anyway, I'm going to go through the express security line, although the regular line is not too busy at the moment, and hopefully I'll have time for a quick tour and a beverage in the lounge. Obviously, being from Manchester, this service isn't particularly useful for me. I've used it on occasion, but as always, the departure lounge is absolutely rammed. So let's hope there's some spaces in the lounge. You have to have a Premier ticket or a UK, French or Belgian at Amex Platinum to get in. Okay, Muttonistas, I've gone for a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I'm actually sitting at the cocktail bar because everywhere else was absolutely heaving. It is incredible. A train has just been announced for boarding to Brussels and Amsterdam, so a lot of people have cleared some space. I didn't expect it to be that busy. Maybe there are more of these Premier spaces on the trains than I realised. Anyway, a quick slurp of this Sauvignon Blanc. That's pretty decent. I believe we're going to get better on the train. But the selection of spirits and cocktails is actually pretty impressive. I've seen Campari, Johnny Walker, Black Label, all sorts of things. Anyway, thanks to the staff here who sorted out a seat for me when it was a bit difficult, actually brought me my beverage. So I'm hoping the level of service will continue to be as splendid as this. I'll see you on the train, Muttonistas. Okay, Muttonistas still haven't left the cocktail bar. They haven't called boarding yet. And the staff are so wonderful here. They go and get me drinks from the wine, the self-service stand, some water and some canapés. So it promises to be a lovely journey. And I believe I've gained a couple of followers or subscribers. Now, for the second time in 2 journeys on Eurostar, they've given me a new boarding pass on a piece of paper. Different seat, different train, I think, and different staff. Oh well, I guess this is still more efficient than BR. So if the trains look a bit different, Muttonistas, it's because we've left the British train network. It's basically a TGV on the French network. Anyway, it looks a bit busy in there. I might have to just record and voice over if it's too intrusive for me to speak about what we get. Well, good job there are stewards at every coach entrance because it seems my seat is taken. They're going to try and sort it out. I don't understand what's going on, but it is a bit more out of BR's playbook, this. Okay, we're all set to go. It's a busy train. I'm going to voice over most of this so I don't disturb people around me, but I'll show you everything that goes on. A little bit short on baggage space, I have to say. Thankfully, my bag has got a wheel locking device so it won't slide around from pretty precarious position at the end of the carriage. A little wet wipe to start, and I have to say, for the amount you pay for this train, the space around the seat, well, not that impressive, I have to say. You get more than this on BR. So about 20 minutes in, they've come around with menus. I'm looking forward to a quick slurp on the champagne. I've heard of champagne fleury before. It's Blanc de Noir or Pinot Noir. Pretty good, I think. Will the wines match up to that? I don't know, but I've got the menu. I'm definitely having the hot lamb option. And some pretty tasty nuts came around. Maybe the drinks don't come until we're in the tunnel. It doesn't actually take long to get out of England on this service. It's our only fast line, the one that takes you out of the country. And pleased to report that the champagne is served from glass and not plastic. Very important. Lovely little drop as well. It's served from a whole bottle, whereas the wines, the still wines, are served from miniatures, which means that the champagne's probably the best bet.
Plus de champagne, monsieur?
Oui, oui.
Vous voulez boire quelque chose, monsieur, du vin?
About an hour in now, and the meal tray has arrived. We've just exited the tunnel on the French side, and I think we're getting a refill on the beverages, and we've got a little cauliflower mousse with piccalilli, cheese and a dessert, and obviously the hot plate to come. Right, that did go down well. It was a pretty tasty treat, went well with the champagne. Wish they'd serve that in larger glasses. Can't wait for the lamb. I think this will be the ultimate test as to how it compares to an airline meal. So the main has arrived. It does look a bit like what you'd get on a plane. It does look a little bit dry, but I may be wrong. The alternative, which I maybe should have gone to, it did look a bit more moist trout. I didn't realise there was a hot fish option available until the last minute, but nobody around me seems to be going for it. It is okay, but the meat is a little bit dry. The lentils are really nice. Maybe I carved and I should have gone for the fish. And as it looked, the red wine comes out of those cheap plastic water bottles that you get on a plane. It's okay, but nothing special. And for the price you pay for these tickets, I think they should serve better stuff from whole bottles. Anyway, I'll get on with this, and I'll see you when we arrive in Paris. So Muttonistas, here we are at the Gare du Nord, arrived as a domestic passenger, everything more or less done in London, which isn't actually totally the case on the way back. Anyway, I'm going to head off to my hotel. I was a little underwhelmed with that, not massively. Would have thought they'd offer you a bit more for the price, which I'll reveal at the end of the second leg of the journey, going back to the UK. But I'm going to hit my hotel. Hope City do well tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll know the result because this video won't come out for a while after the game, and I'll see you for the return leg. Okay, Muttonistas, time for the return journey at Paris's Gare du Nord, and I believe the return journey, the experience is supposed to be a bit better than the way out. I really do hope so. But rather than going to a pub for a pint before we board the train, we're going to go for lunch at a restaurant, a bonus food scene. And another little bonus, Muttonistas, you're coming all the way with me to Manchester Piccadilly. And for me and most other gastronauts, only one choice at the Gare du Nord, Terminus Nord. By far the best restaurant in this area. So let's head in because it's getting wet. Obviously, Muttonistas, I'm not just having water, I've ordered some wine. They're pretty good at getting these meals out quickly here because they know people have trains to catch. And one of the benefits of this Premier class ticket is that I don't have to be there yonks before checking in. It means I'll have less time in the lounge, but given the London lounge didn't have that much, I don't think that's a big deal. I've ordered a half-litre carafe of Chablis, but I think this glass is going to have to change. It's a bit dirty. Like everywhere in Paris, this restaurant is a bit expensive. Not mega expensive. There are some very expensive bottles of white Burgundy, which I'd normally go for if I were eating with somebody else. But I've just gone here for the carafe of Chablis. I'll have a little taste of it. And it's reasonable. It's not doing huge amounts for me, but that might change with the food. It looked the best bet at $38.50, but maybe I could have gone for Sancerre instead. But I think actually with the fish dishes I've ordered, this will be a winner. just the two-course lunch today, a start and a main. The starters arrived. Tartare du bar, sea bass tartare. For a while, France was a bit stuck in the past with its cuisine, but here, olive oil, parsley, also pomegranate and mango makes a great dish. And it has really transformed the wine. It just shows you, doesn't it, Muttonistas? Oh, ye of little faith. Anyway, I'm going to get on with this. The fish is beautifully fresh and firm. People who know me well know I'm a raw fanatic, and although they don't have as much raw food as Spain, here in France they've got plenty for me. And that really was great. I actually detected a bit of red pepper round the side of the plate, which actually added to the dish. So that's a nice, light, tasty starter, and I've gone for something fishy but a little heavier for the mains. And most importantly, that came pretty quickly, and I hope the mains do too. Well, Muttonistas, a serious main course here, scallop risotto. I think it's in a lobster and cream sauce. Maybe wrong about the lobster, but it looks like it to me. Better have a quick slurp before I taste it. And to be honest, I really ought to be having something like a Montrachet or a Merceau or something with this, if you're familiar with those wines. But had there been two of us, I would have bought a bottle, but for one, when I've got all this stuff to have on the train, probably not. Okay, here we go. Muttonista's going to lean over so I don't soil my shirt. Excellent, excellently. The scallop is lightly cooked, the rice is al dente, and I can taste parmesan as well. What a great addition to risotto. Very slurp worthy, if I may say so. Okay, Muttonistas, I will finish up and I'll see you inside the station. Actually, Muttonistas, before I head into the station, I just want to show you something here. The scallops are very, very lightly cooked, just so that the flesh has turned opaque from being transparent. You don't want to cook them any more than that. And in Britain, I'm afraid we've got this terrible habit of overcooking everything. So for security concerns, the check-in for the London departures is held upstairs. The trains have to be kept at isolated platforms, and there's a passport control check and a security check, but customs actually take place on the other side, which was different from the way out. Okay, so the guy making the cocktails, he made them rather well actually, he didn't want to be filmed, so I'm not going to include that in the video. I always respect those requests. Anyway, given I had wine at lunch, I've gone for a Campari and soda, which he seemed to make pretty well. Not the most difficult one to make, but some of the more complicated cocktails, he did make them pretty spectacularly. Yeah, that's hit the spot. Suitably bitter, good blend and ratio of soda to Campari. Bit more of a spacious lounge here actually than in London, and the wine quality, if you want wine, is a bit better, but I'm not going to taste that. As I said, I've just had lunch and wine. I'll see you on the train. Right, Muttonistas, they've called boarding about half an hour before departure. I'd better head off. Just a reminder, if you're in this lounge, you can get in, well, with an American Express Platinum, but they don't serve any food, just bar snacks, drinks, and no fizz at all. Obviously, you get all that on the train. Interestingly, there were no separate lines for Premier customers at security. That was a pity, really, but it didn't take that long. And no separate boarding line, but again, that was pretty good. 2 hours 15 today, about the same as the trip from London to Manchester afterwards, embarrassingly. Let's see how this one goes in terms of the catering, because it wasn't that good on the way out. So Muttonistas, another thing that's better here, service very fast. Within a few minutes the cold towels came out, and after 12 minutes the champagne came out. So let's hope this is a very, very smooth journey today. Lovely temperature and not flat like the last one I got on the first leg. So the meal services started an hour into the journey. Pity there wasn't a second round of drinks, because I and others here were a bit thirsty. Starters first as usual, and we have a choice of chicken or duck later. In terms of the seating, I prefer these table seats, or maybe an individual seat with a table tray. The twin seats with table trays, they were a bit uncomfortable, I thought. And some more champagne is coming, but I thought strictly for quality control purposes, of course, I'd try the plastic miniature of white, having tried the red on the way out, not expecting much though. And a quick slurp before we start getting stuck in. I've never been a fan of white Bordeaux, and well, we'll see. Yeah, it's not bad, it's bang average to be honest. And the main meal, chicken or duck, I don't think this is a good match for it. Right, the mains have arrived. It was a cold duck option, which maybe I should have gone for. Hot chicken with kale and wild rice, or a vegetarian dish. But I have to say, I thought on trains they could do more than they could on aircraft. It looks like a plain meal from an oven. I thought they could do more than that, but hey ho, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, it actually looks quite good, this. It'll go better with the white wine and champagne. Hey, that's actually quite good, that is. The chicken isn't dry, it's moist. Quite a nice dish, a bit of spice as well. Miles better than the way out. I wonder what goes on at the canteens where they prepare these things in London. Quick slurp, just to check it matches. And I will get on with this Muttonistas, and I'll see you after I've finished. So Muttonistas, that was an excellent chicken dish. I'd have that any time on a plane or a train, and they're often good choices, to be honest. And it did go well with this white wine. I'm not going to bore you with the flavours of the cheese and the dessert. It's going to be very much as you expect. A tea and coffee service has been round, but I've got all the tea I need here in this glass. See you at St Pancras, Muttonistas. Okay, I've spun a yarn, I've told an absolute whopper here. I'm going to try the dessert and describe it to you, because my fellow companions with whom we're having a great time chatting have told me it's not the boring tiramisu style cake that I thought it was. And right they are as well. It is not what I thought it was. There's a bit of coconut, there's some creamy chocolate, which is, well, I'm not sure whether it's dark or milk, to be honest. It's something that will spike my blood sugar levels for sure, but it is pretty good. Okay, Muttonistas, arrived at St Pancras or St Pickpocket 2.5 hours later. I think 3 minutes behind schedule, but we can live with that, Muttonistas. Going to clear customs here, then walk across to the Euston Tap. Bit of a pain in the arse actually, because the street isn't very level. And we'll talk about the journey further. Hopefully no hanky-panky or rubbish with British Rail tonight. Well, Muttonistas, that was a bit trickier than I'd anticipated. I was pulled over, a lot of people pulled over, including 2 of my companions at the table. Not sure what's going on there. Thankfully, only an x-ray of the bag and not a thorough search, but others were getting the full treatment. Well, Muttonistas, a smooth trip from Paris to St Pickpocket, an inconvenient walk. I have a heavy stroller, didn't enjoy it. If you're with a family with heavy baggage, I'd give it a miss, to be honest. It is too awkward. And people who live in London will say, oh, it's only a X minute walk, it shouldn't be any problem. Well, I'm fed up of people from around here telling people from further north, you can put up with this, you can put up with that. We do, but don't tell us that it's convenient. I'd say the journey from Paris Gare du Nord to St Pancras was better than the way out. The food was better, service excellent, the company of course excellent, and of course it arrived bang on time, which is fantastic. As I said, I didn't like the fact that the security and passport control all kind of got lumped into one no premium channel, which they have at St Pancras. Probably the only thing they do better at St Pancras, because I prefer the lounge in Paris as well. It's got that same cocktail bar, it's more spacious. Boarded the train pretty early as well. They got everybody on about 15-20 minutes before departure. And unfortunately, I have nearly a 2-hour wait here. Another disgraceful thing, you cannot buy a through ticket from anywhere other than London to anywhere on the continent, and you can't buy one back. You can't buy a Paris to Manchester ticket. You have to buy your Eurostar and then another ticket. So if the Eurostar's late, or on the other way, the British Rail train's late, you lose your connection and you lose your ticket. There is no protection. Pretty disgraceful again. So the best thing to do is sit back, relax and enjoy a pint at the Euston Tap, London's best station pub. Okay, Muttonistas, if you're wondering what that's all about, they only announce the boarding very close to the departure time. They're always straining to get trains ready that have just come in, and there's an unseemly sprint always for these trains. It is, to be fair, a Friday. It is just after work hours are finished, and of course the weather means that services are not running north of Preston or west of Chester. So I've sought the sanctuary of the Euston Tap, as I say, the best station pub in London in my opinion, and the weather is actually quite mild, so if it's absolutely rammed out there, I'll have an al fresco pint outside. Okay, Muttonistas, great to be back after that Lagerfest in Paris, to be back on real ale. They have actually got London Black here, and I'm going to have that next, but I spotted a pale ale from the Colonel, a brewery I'm really impressed with, but first dibs again for my Instagram viewers. I'll be back with you shortly. Well, Muttonistas, another interesting chat with fellow beer lovers. This Colonel Brewery, well, what a brewery. I believe they've changed their Nitro Stout because it was too coffee heavy. So I'm hoping that when I get to try their new Nitro Stout, it'll be on the money. But back to the business in hand, the pale ale. Great brew, ticks every box for me. A little bit of citrus, a hoppy finish, and it's not sweet. So what a great prelude to my favourite London Black, which I'm going to move on to next. And now Muttonistas, the pièce de résistance, the London Black by Anspach and Hobday, 4.4%. It's a porter and not a stout. The difference being how you treat the barley, whether you malt it or roast it. Anyway, after the slightly questionable Guinness I had in Paris, looking forward to this. Oh yeah, oh yes, that is bang on form today. Can't wait to do the Instagram reel. I mean, look at the lacing round here. Anyway, Muttonistas, I'm going to inform you if there's more in the way of shenanigans and delays, but otherwise I'll have a couple of pints and board the train to Manchester. Oh, and I forgot to add, for those of you who watch my content regularly, I call pints like this an absolute creamer.
Anytime whilst here at Euston Station.
Okay, Muttonistas, fun and games time now on British Rail on Avanti West Coast. Of course, unlike SNCF, everything is private, fractured up into small, shall we say, branches and franchises. And the good news is that the seats are wider than the Eurostar. The carriage is actually pretty empty. Easier access to phone and laptop charging. But obviously the catering will not be as good as the Eurostar. It is okay though, I have to say, and they also have an option of standard premium, which is like the same seats as these without the catering. I actually think that's the sweet spot, but using a well-known app for upgrading, I managed to get this seat pretty cheaply on top of my economy fare. And true to form, this train was supposed to leave at 7:53, 7:57, and we haven't moved an inch out of Euston. Let's hope it's not too bad so I can round off the video as planned. We left Euston 7 minutes late, not a big deal really actually, and 10 minutes later out with the drink orders and a little menu card. You scan it for the food and the drinks are on the back. Sadly no guest beer today. I'm not going to bother with the wine here because British Rail wine is never really worth it. I did actually order the Peroni, the lager, but this Brewdog Wingman Pale Ale, I'll probably enjoy that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And although the food options didn't seem excellent at first, they've got an Indian tasting platter with onion bhajis and samosas. I think that is just going to hit the spot. Okay, let's give this a go. I mean, obviously I'm not going to get champagne like on the Eurostar, but think of the comparison in price of tickets, which I'll give you at the end of the vlog. Now, I've not had this particular Brewdog before. The Eagle has landed. It's okay, it's a bit hoppy. I'll probably move on to the Peroni, but maybe it's the ideal match for onion bhajis. I don't think Bordeaux or Burgundy with samosas and bhajis is a well-known pairing. And Muttonistas, I do remember in the 80s and 90s travelling on British Rail, especially if the train had come from or was going to Scotland. You'd have tables, smoking compartments or carriages and non-smoking, but tables full of McEwan's ale and pork pies and all that sort of stuff, and I used to love that, a brown ale and a pork pie, but these days are gone. I'm being a bit nostalgic here. Okay, Muttonistas, second round of drinks served. I'm glad that they had a round of pre-dinner drinks served here. Well, it's not really dinner, it's more a snack. But I'll tell you what, slow-cooked food or Indian food is always a winner on a plane or a train. It's very easy to cook, very easy to reheat, and it doesn't lose any of the flavour. And we have kachumba, which is a spicy salad mainly made of cucumber, onion bhajis, you all know them, samosas, and actually I would have preferred a spicier dip than mango chutney, but I'm happy to have them without it. So the salad, let's give that a go. Nicely spiced without being too spicy. I know some of you always worry about your heads being blown off onto the bhajis. Yeah, those bhajis were actually pretty crispy, even though I suspect they had to be heated in an oven. And now the samosas. Again, very crispy, very tasty, only lightly spiced. I actually prefer them spicier myself, but most of you will prefer them as they are. Potatoes and peas, beautiful, crispy and great with a beer. And talking of which, we'd better have another slurp. And I will see you a bit later, Muttonistas. Now, that should be at Manchester Piccadilly with a trip to the Piccadilly tap to wrap the video up, but you never know on British rail journeys what's going to happen, what twists and turns there will be. Okay, Muttonistas, this vlog is going seriously off topic and diverging. I'm at Macclesfield. The train was supposed to go through to Manchester and actually it did. Macclesfield Customs and Border Patrol have pulled me off and I'll explain it all in a few minutes. And if you want to know who the Chief Macclesfield Border and Customs Officer is, it is Adrian, who you've seen many times on my videos, including the famous day trip to Cork. Now, part of the attraction of going way off topic and stopping here is the heartless Red Willow Nitro Stout. I've had it at Reasons to be Cheerful in Burnage, and James has kept it perfectly and poured it perfectly. I have to say, this does not look great, this doesn't. Doesn't mean it won't taste good, but the pour is bad, the head is thin, and last time I came here, the gas mixture, the way that they nitroed it up, didn't seem right to me, and it looks like it's the same problem reoccurring. And it actually tastes good. I think they've sorted out the gas. I think the barman was just pouring a bad pint there. So let's hope I can have another one where he pours it correctly. And Muttonistas, after this rather unscheduled stop, I do hope to be carrying on to Manchester Piccadilly on one of the numerous trains from Macclesfield and finishing the vlog off at the Piccadilly tap there, although Adrian is shaking his head vigorously over there. Okay, Muttonistas, I've cleared Macclesfield Border Control and Customs, satisfactorily passed all of their tests, and I'm on my way to the promised land with that stop that is completely unnecessary, and I have a little something to keep me going on the trains. Now, I have to tell you, by the way, Red Willow used to supply West Coast trains with tilting pale ale. I don't understand why that has stopped, because it was a great beer, but I've got a nice West Coast IPA to keep me company until we get to our final destination, Manchester Piccadilly. Okay, Muttonistas, boarded the train at Macclesfield and I've had my passport stamped and been given a little bit of duty free. So I'm looking forward to finishing this vlog off at Manchester Piccadilly, but I'll refresh myself on the way there. So Muttonistas, all good journeys come to a start and end, and when I'm coming to or from Manchester, they usually start here at Manchester Piccadilly at the Piccadilly Tap. And what a beer to finish the end of the trip with. Jaipur by Thornbridge, 5.9%, the original craft pale ale, the West Coast Pale Ale with those citrus upfront notes and then those hoppy finishes. I couldn't ask for more really, more to finish off the journey with. Oh yeah, a great pint. Now my overall assessment and the price of this, well, the price was exorbitant. The return from London to Paris in Premier class was 580 quid. Absolutely ridiculous, but I did need the flexibility, and I think that is what the price point is there for. I would suggest just go in economy, book it miles in advance, get those 39 quid fares, have champagne on the train, because I've done that before and the quality is good. Have your food and drink before you get aboard the train and afterwards. In terms of connectivity from Paris to Manchester, it's not good actually. As I've said earlier in this vlog, the problem is that you cannot buy a through ticket. So if one train is late, you lose the other connection, hence the 2-hour lag and the safety play to make sure I didn't miss any trains. Anyway, I've reached the promised land, the People's Republic of Manchester. So glad to be back here, so glad to be back at the Piccadilly Tap, because whatever anybody says, or I say about the Euston Tap being great at Euston, at Manchester Piccadilly, this is the place to have a beverage. So I've got to sign off now. I've got to be match fit for City against Chelsea, important Premier League clash. And as always, I have to remind you, make sure you share this video. Make sure your friends know about it. Please like it, push me up the algorithm. Please subscribe. But most of all, Muttonistas, don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.